They are letters of love and anger, real-life stories of racial biases between women. Kimberlee Yolanda Williams has been a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant for nearly 20 years, and she wrote the book, Dear White Woman, Please Come Home. Today, she's going to join us live. Here she is to discuss why authentic cross-racial friendships are so difficult. Kimberlee, thank you for coming onto our show to talk about this.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so first and foremost, what was the springboard to write this book?
The springboard, I will tell you, was anger. I was at a workshop for Black women and white women to come together and to heal and connect. And we did an activity right at the end of the workshop where Black women and white women would sit kind of knee to knee. This was pre-COVID, of course. And the Black woman would share a truth and tell the white woman why she hadn't shared it previously. And the white woman had a chance to respond to the Black woman. And most of the time, the white women responded that they didn't know. They didn't know what Black women were going through. And I was fired up thinking, how could you not know if we're on YouTube? If we're in the newspaper, we're on TikTok, like, how could you not know? And so I went home and I said, you know what? I'm writing a book so the white women will never again say they didn't know. And that's what I did. Here we are 4 years later.
Dang. Kudos. I want to read every single page and just be a better ally.
Absolutely. All right, what do you hope, really your hope, not just like a little hope, but what's your deep hope for the takeaway for white readers, but also for Black readers? Could you give me both on those?
Yes. I think about Black women first, of course, because I identify, but really, I hope that Black women read the book and say, I see myself. I see my mom. I see my neighbor. I see my grandmother, and I feel validated. And just 2 days ago, a Black woman wrote to me on LinkedIn and said, I feel validated. I feel seen. My hope for white women is that they realize it's not as hard as it seems, that with these little steps that, I provide in the book, they could just make a few little changes and signal to women of color and to Black women specifically, I'm your ally.
Yeah.
I want to do this work with you. I want to support you.
Wow.
Well, Kimberlee, let's talk about microaggressions, because your book lists 40 examples between you and white women. And, I have to tell you personally, people always think it's the, person who's being very overtly racist that really hurts me. It's not that. It's the people who are trying to show allyship, but they're not really processing what that necessarily means in action. So can you give us some example of how microaggressions have happened for you?
100%. And I agree with you. You're spot on. It's not, for me, it's not the KKK, right? It's the person that is my friend that is tripping up over their words and their actions that harm me. And so I think my most common microaggression that I experience, the two most common are my hair. Is my hair real? Is my hair, how long did it, did you grow, one of my favorite, did you grow your hair overnight? And the second one I would say is the assumption that I don't belong. And that's, I get the question, people don't know by looking at me that I speak more than one language. And so I get the question a lot, what are you? And what do you mean, what am I? I'm a human being just like you. I just happen to be bilingual. So I mean, those questions of do you belong here are probably the most hurtful for me. I've been accused of being a janitor at an organization. So, are you the janitor? Can you show, are you the, at Target shopping and I don't have on red and khakis and can you show me where to get X, Y, and Z, And I'm like, I don't work here.
Right. Well, let's get honest though, because a lot of Black people are tired of teaching other races, and it's really not our job to be teachers. But at the same time, when you're having a conversation or you're in an interpersonal relationship with someone, my biggest one is I always try to explain that calling me strong is not a strength, because, if I'm having a conversation with you as a friend, as someone who I feel is a peer, and someone who I respect, and I anticipate that you respect me too, the idea that I'm advising you on some level and you're saying, well, it's easier for you because you're strong. And my response is always like, I'm not strong because I necessarily want to be. I'm strong because that's what the situation dictates. So when you're having those conversations, how do you think it's best to approach that with some sincerity, but also with the idea of compassion?
Right, right. And I think I share with people to lead with a disclaimer. The disclaimer is, listen, I'm just going to let you know. And I go into situations, something as simple as my name being spelled incorrectly on a daily basis. A name like Kimberlee sounds common, right? And it's spelled wrong every day. And so I lead with what I call a disclaimer. I go into a conversation and say, listen, this is no insult to your intelligence. I know that you don't know how to spell my name. Let me spell it for you. And so sometimes I try to get ahead of the microaggression by leading with what I call a disclaimer. And my name is a very good example.
And very quickly, I just want to ask this. Like, if you're a white female viewer watching right now, they might say, well, I get what you're saying, but how can I help? How can I tell if I'm doing a good job? Like, what's the first step to make sure that I'm being a good ally?
Yes. First is to let go of zero-sum thinking, right? There's no such thing as either you're good or you're a bad ally, right? Most of us are somewhere in between. And so I think that we have to do a deep dive on our biases that we have, because that's where our microaggressions stem from. So we've got to sit down and say, what are the biases that I've been socialized to have in the community that I grew up in, because we all have them.
Exactly.
And if we can be honest about the ones that are living in our subconscious, we can get ahead of them and we can prevent microaggressions. But most of us don't take the time to take inventory.
And get Kimberlee's book.
Yes.
Yeah. I cannot wait to read this. Thank you, Kimberlee. To continue this conversation, make sure that you too get a copy of her book. You can also visit engagingacrossdifference.com. Kimberlee, we appreciate you. We'll be right back.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.